Do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
and the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
and that I will faithfully perform
and I will faithfully perform
and discharge the duties of my office
and discharge the duties of my office
as a member of the Board of Education
as member of the Board of Education
of the Perry Local School District in Lake County, Ohio.
of the Perry Local School District in Lake County, Ohio.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Nicole Tresker,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
and the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
and that I will faithfully perform
and that I will faithfully perform
and discharge the duties of my office
and discharge the duties of my office
as a member of the Board of Education
as a member of the Board of Education
of Perry Local School District in Lake County, Ohio.
of the Perry Local School District in Lake County, Ohio.
So help me God.
So help me God. Or whoever has that. Thank you.
The 2024 organizational meeting of the Board of Education of the Perry Local School District is called to order at 5:47. Thank you, PM in the Tarbuck Center Conference Room. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Seoli,
Here.
Mrs. Foley,
Here.
Mr. Leidig.
Here.
Mr. Roberts isn't here, and Mrs. Gressler.
Here.
All right, at this time, what?
Do you want to do the pledge?
Yeah, at this time, I was gonna say.
Oh,
let's do
sorry.
the pledge. Okay. You can.
I thought we were moving.
No, I was looking at that. At this time, we'll stand for the pledge. We already did, so thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, so we will move forward with nominations for the president of the Board of Education for the 2024 school year, so we're accepting nominations at this time. Jen, are you actually going to, as far as this part goes, you're gonna go through the nominations piece, right?
I'm gonna
I think-
ask for nomination.
Yeah, I think so.
Anybody with nominations for board president?
I'd like to nominate, Paul Tasker.
Anyone else? Can I have a motion to close nominations?
So moved.
Right, we'll vote for Nicole Tresker for president. Mrs. Foley,
Yes.
Mr. Leidig,
Yes.
Fiore,
Yes.
Mrs. Tresker.
Yes.
All right.
Vote of confidence. Oh.
Yours now.
Throw it.
Do we change seats? Yep.
Not yet.
Yes, we
right
do.
now.
Yeah, we do.
go.
Yes, we do. Here we go.
Oh my goodness.
Congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
It's like a knife. You have to hand it off properly, right?
Well, we can just sit where we're sitting though.
No.
I think I'm supposed to read this. Nicole Tresker is elected president of the Board of Education for 2024 and assumes the duties of the office until the election of officers at the January 2025 organizational meeting.
Thank you.
Okay,
Just throw right into the fire there. There you go. Have to do by yourself. Oh, yeah, thanks. All right. And then we have nominations for the vice president. I would nominate Tippy.
any other nominations? That,
It works, Tippy. Almost throw it.
Right seat.
Tippy.
can I have a motion to close nominations?
So moved.
All right, Mr. Leidig,
Yes.
Mrs. Truster,
Yes.
Mrs. Seoli,
Yes.
Mrs. Foley,
Yes.
Mrs. Foley is elected Vice President, Board of Education for 2024 and assumes the duties of the office until the election of officers at the 2025 organization.
Thank you.
Okay, then we need to set the time and location of the meetings. Are we still gonna stay with Tuesdays at 5:45? Does anyone have any problems with that time?
First Tuesday? Are we doing what we did last year?
I like what we did last year. Do you think we need to do, and then adding in work sessions as needed, so the third Tuesday of the month and then adding work sessions as needed?
First or third?
5:45 work for everybody as far as time?
Yeah.
And the dates are there tentatively. I mean, we can move things with notice if we need to. So is there a motion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Truster,
Yes.
Mrs. Seoli,
Yes.
Mrs. Foley,
Yes.
Mr. Leidig.
Yes.
Okay, then standing authorizations for 2024. Do I have a motion to approve items A through? Where does it go through? Page is long. A through BD. No, there. Oh, sorry, items A through AA. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Those are just standard appropriations every year that we approve, right? Anything specific or any significant changes?
I don't think so.
The only change we made, I believe, we did remove one of the law offices that we had approved last year. But other than that, I think they're all the same.
Thank you.
We did.
Yeah.
We added one. Yeah.
B.
Wait, what is it?
B.
V. We added V,
D is in Victor?
Yeah, debt elimination.
the debt elimination, yeah, which we talked about in the
Yep.
board update. So
So we're gonna write off uncollectible debt. That
Yeah.
is years old. How old are we talking?
it goes all the way back to 2007, some of it, so
And we have no real means of.
collecting.
A lot of these,
Without
a lot of these
costing
kids
more than they
have,
owe.
have moved out, so they start a year, they get assessed the fees, they don't move out the second day of school, the fees are sitting on the books. They move out the end of the year, or they just move away with the outstanding fee, and if they move on, we don't know how to track it down, we know they moved to Cincinnati. We forward the grade to a school, but we don't really have a.
And we did add girls wrestling to bona fide feeder programs in AAA.
Okay.
I don't think that was there last year. So,
Okay, any other discussion? The roll call?
Mrs. Truster,
Yes.
Mrs. Seoli,
Yes.
Mrs. Foley,
Yes.
Mr. Leidig.
Yes.
Okay, and then we are at. Item 7, other business. So item A, legal counsel for 20, do we have to go through these individually or?
President,
He needs we need to discuss E, so should we motion and then discuss it, or should we just go through?
yeah, motion.
Okay, so do I have a motion to approve items A through E, or A through D? Second.
No,
No, A through
That's
E.
all-
No, I'm sorry,
all.
I missed it.
it's actually A through H.
A through H, thank you.
G,
Or G.
H is the voting.
We're gonna do our alphabet, folks.
A through G.
Motion to approve items A through G.
Yes.
Any discussion? So we need to discuss item E. We need to elect our delegate and alternate for the OSBA 2024 Capital Conference. Does anyone want to do it?
I couldn't care less.
Okay, you can do it.
I think that would be great if Jesse did that.
Sure.
Did you do it last year?
No.
No, I did it last
Okay.
year. But great, that'd be good. And an alternate? Kathleen, do you want to be the alternate? Any other discussion?
We need to appoint the legislative liaison.
So the Board of Education appoints Jesse Leidick as the Perry Local Schools OSBA delegate and Kathleen Sealy as the alternate for the Fall Capital Conference of 2024. And item F, we need that legislative liaison. Jesse, do you want to do that too? You've got the legal background.
Sure,
Okay.
sign me up.
Jesse, the Board of Education appoints Jesse Leidick as the Perry Local Schools legislative liaison for 2024. Did we get it all? Can we have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Sealy?
Yes.
Mrs. Foley?
Yes,
Mr. Leidick?
Yes.
Mrs. Truster?
Yes. Committee appointment. Item A, Perry Recreation Board of 2024. The Board of Education, are we gonna, again, should we go through and, or do we just nominate as we go?
do one at a time.
Okay.
I mean,
So who do we want to nominate for the rec board 2024?
Still doing,
They still want to do it,
yes,
right?
as far as I know, yes.
as far as I know, they still want to do it, so
Yep.
we could appoint them, and if they decline the appointment, right, then
We'll
we
just-
can revisit and
Adjust.
open it up.
Okay, so we'll
That's what I
appoint Allison
suggest.
Patnelli and
Continue
Ryan
with those
Yeager.
two.
Yep.
Continue with them until further notice, until the end of the year.
Okay, and then the committees are on the next page. I want to discuss the committees a little bit because I think we can revise some of these and maybe consolidate some. Maybe we need to add some other committees. We discussed a little bit having a financial committee. I'd love to add a finance committee position of two people that would meet with Mrs. Capo regularly.
We had one in the past, right? There used to be one a long time ago,
Years ago.
before I was on
And
the
then I went
board.
to audit. And actually, a lot of us have finance and audit together.
Yeah, I think that would be
Yeah.
probably the best thing to do is consolidate finance and audit committee.
Well, the audit committee meets once a year, right? Yes.
Yes,
Don't we have to meet, what's that?
No, that's the,
Records Commission.
Records Commission, yeah, that was it,
Sorry.
that's
Okay.
right. That's once a year.
That's by statute, board president.
Well,
I think it makes sense to combine audit and finance.
yeah, I think it's all one,
Okay,
I like that idea.
so let's do finance and audit committee and who wants to be on that? Don't jump all at once.
Well, I guess for me personally, it depends on what else I'm doing, so
Okay, you want to,
I would enjoy, learning more and being a part of the finance committee.
okay,
I think that would be a good learning curve.
okay. And then do I have to be on that because of the audit?
No,
Okay. The records.
the records
one.
commission, which isn't on here.
Okay.
Is an automatic board president, superintendent, CFO.
Okay,
One meeting.
Yes.
okay,
Looking at combining, Nikki, can we combine the athletic with the Distinguished Alumni Hall of Fame? Can we just put that with that?
I don't know if we,
No.
The Distinguished Alumni Hall.
I don't think that's the athletic one.
Oh, okay, all right, I thought it was
I,
the,
I need
athletic.
one person for, to serve on the Distinguished Alumni Hall of Fame Committee
Okay.
for the bylaws.
And then I think we did separate instruction and wellness last year. I think it might be worthwhile to put those back together. Just for time's sake and convenience, and it tends to have quite a bit of
Well-
overlap. Do you think?
I mean, my only concern is, didn't you guys rearrange on how you were doing it who does this question go to?
we kind of both
Probably-
show up. So if we're together, we'll both be there if we're apart.
We had this conversation a couple years ago about keeping those together or separating them, keeping them together, separating them. And Betty Jo headed up, right? You were leading both,
Yeah.
and then Jim took on wellness. And you were kind of handling curriculum,
Structure, yeah.
but I think
If we're
Separate,
together, we
Jim
would,
Take one,
I
you
mean-
take the wellness, correct?
it depends, do we want wellness to turn into something?
Well, the other committee that I was thinking about on my own, like, I don't know, we can talk about it. We talked for a couple years about finding a way to get students more involved. And I think it might be worthwhile to do like a student advisory kind of wellness committee where we can meet with a couple board members, possibly like quarterly, meet with some of the students that are
would you like to
interested.
join our, or would it be smart to join our student business advisory?
maybe we could do something where they,
So is there a student business advisory council now?
Effective this year.
Okay, so it's new this year.
so it might be nice to like have a, like a, either have someone from the board represent on that. Or do like, I don't know how regularly do they meet?
Quarterly, and Karen Sunday sits on it, Dr. Tedesco sits on it. I imagine, right, with welding, someone from Lincoln Electric may serve on it soon, but 5 kids are on it right now. We could expand it, or we could start something different if you don't want it to be a career-based one, maybe just to hear voices of kids.
Kind of, that's where I was getting at, like, I kind of want to hear the voices of kids, and I also feel like it's a good way for kids to learn the process of how things work, and, you know, especially in our society, like, learning that if you have a problem with something, there's a proper channel to go through in order to change things, and not necessarily you just don't get to ignore rules that you don't like, there's a method. I think that that could be beneficial.
Any other adults besides board members you want to see on that committee?
What do you guys think?
Didn't Mr. Scioli, he was gonna be the liaison between the normal BAC and the student BAC, I believe.
I think we're inviting the students to the next BAC, the building,
So
that we're preparing for that.
That'd be great.
I think we need, I like what you said about getting kids involved so that they get an understanding of how processes work and stuff like that, maybe governments. And when we think about these committees, we have to think about what is the purpose? So what is the purpose of our wellness committee? Does it make sense to stand alone? Or does it make sense to merge it with something else? Like, what's the purpose of the committee?
In light of the fact, again, that Mr. Chisholm has just kind of taken on that role and has some ideas, I believe. And remember, our policy requires the wellness committee to exist because every year they have to review and approve the policy. So there's some compliance pieces with wellness as well. But I think it'd be a great opportunity if we get to know Mr. Chisholm and the things he's doing. Along having that wellness committee separate, if you guys could, you know, handle the, I mean, there's a lot of committees.
Unless we eliminate some of the committees, because really. Yeah.
So you asked the question, the purpose, the current purpose of that committee, and that's just can be modified, is this team is a solution-oriented advisory group focused on recommendations for the well-being of the school community, students, staff, and families. Current purpose.
And how many, the wellness committee is more than just the 2 delegates from the board. There's also has to be stakeholders and community members involved.
The policy, the 1-year policy, we've been placing about 23 people both times. We're holding it 2 times a year, fall and spring, and their students are on it.
Yeah.
And the parents are on it from each school, admin, counselors, and of course, Mr. Chisholm and myself, so it's like 23, and just, no, that's really a different kind of committee than our others.
I think it helps too, as we're deciding, and since Kathleen is joining us now too, that we understand and explain what this commitment looks like when it's a committee. How much time, what's the time commitment? So that's important to mention. You just said 2 times a year for wellness.
Yes, and if that works for the board, does it need to be more or less?
And if you can't make the meeting, then the information is passed on to you, and then you provide us with an update after the meeting at a board meeting. So, I mean, while we hope you can be there, it's not always required that you attend every committee meeting. I know you have real lives.
And and so what we do is report back, like Jack just said, is I think that's the important piece, that someone, here gets the information and shares it with the rest of the board to keep us up to speed. Unless it's the district personnel.
Right.
I mean, I would really immune to, you know, talking about that vision for the wellness committee and how we can just kind of shift it to more of a student lens. I think it's a great direction to take it. It does make sense, a lot of sense to talk about it in the scope of instruction, because what we found oftentimes the biggest issues that are important to talk about with wellness are the ones where wellness and instruction perceived. We have wellness instruction, that are really important issues. So they do overlap a lot. But if we focus and just kind of shift our lens to that wellness community, really about student voice, maybe shrink the group a little bit. Wonderful direction to go.
I can see either putting them together or keeping them apart. Either one works. Because you're right, the topics overlap sometimes.
I like them separated personally. I think I do too.
Okay. So keep them separated, and do we wanna put the student piece in with the wellness piece, or do we wanna keep that separate?
Putting it in.
The only concern I have is, I mean, making sure that they're part of the 23, the large group, so that's been happening, that's not anything new. To put students in front of,
Sometimes they speak more than the adults.
yeah,
I think it'd be awesome if maybe the student's voice came to a board meeting and updated us on the committee
Yeah.
sometimes. So we got to hear from them publicly instead of just the meeting. I think that'd be really cool.
Yeah.
Those meetings that happen, they've kind of happened virtually for a number of years. It's sometimes the student voice really rises to the top, but it's not necessarily the best venue to really get at some honest feedback from kids. I think kind of shaping that, I think what setting is maybe a little more appropriate for an initial student voice and then putting out kind of out like the boards, it's a good direction.
okay. So do we have anyone who wants to be on, knowing that the wellness will transition to that, to being more student based in the smaller meetings, right? Because that means more regularly than just the twice a year with a large group. Right?
Yeah, we do
Yes.
have more regular meetings scheduled, and those twice yearly are the ones that involve both students,
Okay.
assistant principals, guidance counselors, community members, kind of a big virtual hub. But within those two meetings, there's also maybe 2 months that we kind of have scheduled out to meet just myself and the HO and board members.
Okay.
Probably 8 times yearly commitment.
So, and then moving down,
So, wait, did we decide?
we didn't
on
decide
one?
yet, no.
Okay. We're just
Um,
talking about first which committees we
I
want to
think,
have.
yeah, I think that's probably the best way to go, so we know how many there are, about where we're gonna be. Fall Festival Steering Committee, that's not really,
That's not really a board committee.
no, it's not really a board committee.
It's not. I thought smiling. I was like, wait a minute. I'm not assigned this year.
I mean, I feel like that's more of a,
I think that's just a volunteer who can help. PSL students are always involved. I mean, our district does a lot to support it.
I mean, it used to be just. Gosh, it was a carryover from some of the rec board members, right?
Yep.
And then.
There was always a board member that sat on that representing the district. And then it was, I don't know, passed on to, I think Lou, who then passed it on and I picked it up and did it, and then Alan got on board. And then Jesse fully came back to it, so.
Lou called and congratulated me the next day.
Yeah. I think it really what they need is the district voice in the planning. And the support of what it is they're trying to do with that fundraiser. And so,
I
yeah.
think Allison would be a great, and I hate to nominate someone that's
Not
not
here,
here,
sorry.
but
but she's already on.
she's
the
already
record.
really
Yeah.
heavily involved and she's on the rec board.
Fabulous ideas out of her.
And Andy had a hand up earlier.
Leave that one open for right now with the thing. We'll talk to Allison about it and see if she's interested in that, or if maybe someone else is interested in stepping into that role, but I think it would be someone who's a little bit, someone who deals with the kids volunteer there, so I feel like that's the biggest piece. So if Mrs. Trentinelli doesn't want to, then maybe Mr. Porcello would like to do it.
Saturday's first meeting.
All right, and then government
Students
affairs,
participate, a lot of us is trying to get some student voice in that activity.
yeah. All right, and then government affairs, that's one that we would keep, correct?
Yeah, we had a meeting this week.
Okay. Safety committee, obviously, we need to have the safety committee. Can we? Is there a safe Halloween anymore? Like, is there even a safe Halloween anymore?
It's trunk or treat, and we have not been included or
So
had
I
anything
don't
about it.
think
It's
we
been
need
the
to have
elementary one,
Just
it's
say
someone.
no.
Any part of it,
Fire department.
Then the teachers plan.
And the teachers, yeah, we're not even,
yeah.
So we're gonna have. board-
Is the technology planning committee a committee that needs the board's voice, or
It meets rather frequently than necessary.
is that something that needs the board's involvement?
I don't think so much. I think Andy's background expertise was something that drew him to that. And back in the day when we started 1-to-1 and
Yes.
every kid getting a device and we were trying to make decisions on software and those things. it's become much more streamlined now.
Tech
Maybe-
topics could usually go into the instructional.
That's what I was wondering, so we
Well,
combine that.
That, and would it make sense how we have Jim come once in a while to do an update? Would it make sense to have Darcy or someone from our tech department come and give an update? when-
Yeah.
Sure.
When
That
that's
seems-
appropriate.
Yeah, that seems
I
more,
know Darcy would love to come and present.
all right, so we're left with athletic council, are we didn't do athletic council, we skipped over that one, are we keeping athletic council?
What's the purpose?
We haven't even really met.
I think athletic council is listed in the athletic handbook, which you approve every coming up here. Which you can which we have that clause to modify. I don't know how active,
These are supposed to be to advise, right? And so I want to make a suggestion, because we've been having this conversation about the PAC for a long time. Is maybe now it's time to say, either it goes and it aligns with Jim Smith and Safety Committee because it has something to do with the building and facilities. Or it has something to do with athletics, because the PAC is something that is always a topic of what are we going to do with the PAC moving forward in terms of, well, how do we want to utilize that space? It's a big building, it's a space, it's open right now to the public for members. And we've talked in the past about some significant changes. Maybe there's some planning that needs to go around or discussions that need to go around. How do we?
I think you're running that committee.
No, I just think about it a lot, because it used to come up years ago before COVID. We had these conversations about the PAC costing money. And memberships were very inexpensive. And we did a big comparison, compared to like the YMCA, compared to other gyms and Heisley Rocket Club at
There's
the
quite a
time.
history.
So there's just a lot of history there that we've talked about it.
Well, we changed the name from community learning or community
CFD,
because
Fitness Center.
we wanted to push it more to a student focus. We wanted to make it clear that it was student first, and we were gonna make that a system or a facility that was going to be based on student need.
Silver Sneakers uses it. I mean, and we've just recently made some changes there, some significant changes, so. The community used to come in and use the racquetball courts and sign up for those and have open gyms, and I just believe in a healthy environment, healthy community, and to do something to encourage people to utilize that space. So I do feel strongly about it, as it's there. I mean, we have it. Let's make the most of what we have. That's my opinion.
Yeah, they love
Are
it.
you recommending like PAC council versus the athletic council?
Probably,
Sounds,
And
Like
they
a
do.
PAC
but
committee?
it's sort of facilities related too, which is Jim Smith. So,
That's true.
do you know what I mean? Because there are districts that have facilities planning or facilities and grounds committees, stuff like that. We've never had a facility committee that I know, because we haven't built new buildings in 30 years. So does it really fall also under Jim Smith? Because
Well, he could definitely be on the committee. I think, I see it as like a board, Mr. Smith, Mr. Rockwell
I do too.
committee.
So PAC/facility committee, replacing athletic council.
We don't do anything with athletic council really. I mean, we haven't, when's the last time we met?
I haven't met this year.
Yeah.
So where
These
we're,
are to advise or to talk
yeah, these
through,
are. Right,
right? They're not for us to
there are no decisions made.
decisions. These aren't decision making.
Yeah, these are just to go gather information, advise, and bring back to the board so that,
Updates.
yeah, updates. All right, so where we're at is we would replace athletic council with PAC council. Audit committee would become the finance and audit committee. Instructional stay. Wellness. Will stay wellness, but have a student portion that we're gonna go a little heavily with.
The student wellness.
Student wellness committee, or
I don't know.
I don't know, we can. Wellness with student, you know. They're a piece of it, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, we missed economic development council.
We have to have someone on that.
It's kind of in flux. The last meeting I was at, they were talking about disbanding.
I
it.
believe they're having it.
They are having.
I believe they're.
So
having
can we
it. I
combine
believe we
that?
have to. I believe as part of the Perry Area Joint Recreation District. The JED, I
Okay.
believe it has to exist.
Okay.
I'm not 100%, but I
Okay.
don't know that it's.
Mr. Gallant loves that.
Can we combine that with government affairs? Does that make
I
sense?
don't think you can, it's,
It has to be
I
separate?
think those are two separate things,
Okay. So we'll have economic development
I believe.
and government affairs. What's the time commitment with economic development?
It's early morning meetings,
It's.
Four times a year.
It used to be right before the,
Yeah.
government,
Okay.
But different people.
so,
some saying.
Some same, some.
small town, so.
And
it's
then
over
Three pairs.
the safety committee. And distinguished alumni hall of fame.
That's just once a year, once every 4 years,
It's once a year, minimum,
Oh.
2 times a year.
but it
max.
hasn't met.
That was just because of COVID, it will be, well, it depends. How often we're about classes in, so
That's
it's
what I'm
probably
saying.
gonna be every other year.
Every other year, so is it really a committee?
You need to
It's not a
represent
committee, you just need a representative to go to one meeting every other year.
Choose the representative.
Okay,
it. Okay,
that's a little different.
okay. I think that, does anyone have any other input or anything else? That we're missing?
Did we say we're getting rid of technology?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Business advisory.
Business
Mhm.
advisory.
That's
We have
four
to.
times a year.
Yeah,
You gotta read a statement once a year during a board meeting.
do you know if, Matt still wants to be on that?
Probably times past, I would think. but-
Okay.
I mean, Mr. Seal, I mean, if you want a community member, Chris Seal, he's been on it a lot, he attends.
He's already on it.
He's
But I mean,
already-
as a representative. But. Because Matt Farrell's a community member, he's not. But, it's 3 meetings a year, 3 to 4 meetings a year.
Okay. All right, does anyone have any committee that they're dying to be on?
I would like to be on the instruction.
Okay,
Good.
that makes sense. You have a little experience in
A little bit,
instruction.
just a tiny bit.
I'll step off that one so that Nikki, you can. stay on
Okay.
That one.
I'd like to stay on either, governmental affairs or economic, or both, and PAC. I mean, the PAC one. Is one I recommend, so I want to be on it.
I'd like to go to government affairs, unless someone else seems to.
No, I was just gonna say, I'll definitely stay on safety.
Okay,
I could do PAC or alumni thing, whatever. I can stay in wellness unless someone else wants to, I've been on for 2 years, if someone else wants to do that instead, that's fine too.
I'll also hand that to someone if they want.
I'll do wellness, I'll do safety. Is anyone writing this down? Because I'm not keeping up.
About
You want
Andy.
wellness?
Yeah.
Andy, how do you feel?
Wellness. I saw it.
Safety, safety and lighting.
Well, that's
safety.
where-
Yeah.
Oh, is he? That's-
So many nice committees.
All right, let's
We start
go.
back at the top.
Yep, let's
Yep,
go to the
start at
top.
the
So PAC is gonna be Mrs. Foley. And Mr. Leidig wanted to do that one too.
Sure.
Let's go to audit and finance. I'd like to do audit and finance. We put Andy on that one?
Sure.
Unless anyone's jumping.
I said I would, but I don't need to. If I'm in the meeting, it doesn't
No,
matter.
no, I forgot.
I'll do
No,
either
we'll
one.
put you down, because you, yeah,
I don't mind.
no, that's good, you're on that. So
Either-
me and
either
you. Business advisory, is anyone wanting to be? All right, we'll skip that one for now.
We'll keep Roberts, right?
Just keep
Yeah.
the two, just keep those two for now.
Yeah,
And if
keep the
something
2,
changes-
and Matt
Yeah.
and I still talk, so yeah. that'll
Okay.
Keep
work.
it for now.
Keep it, yeah.
Instruction, the Seoli. And then me.
One person for wellness.
You want to just do one for wellness?
Well, that's all you have right now, right?
I can do wellness. So it's the same for wellness and instruction. Correct?
So it's gonna be you two
Yeah.
for both.
Economic Development Council,
I would like to do that.
okay.
unless somebody else is really excited.
Government affairs are back to back on that
Yeah.
usually.
So you'll stay on that.
Yeah, is anybody else gonna join or no?
I'm interested in that one.
Yeah.
Oh, you'd be off, right?
Oh, I go. Regardless.
Can we have two people? We can, right?
Yeah, I'm not a board member.
You're not a board member, but we can have two on
I
that.
don't.
We had,
Two, oh, we did, Mark
Yeah.
was on it, that's right. We only had one on the economic development.
all right, then,
Mr. Titus is supposed to tell you I was free.
Okay.
But that's a lie.
Yeah.
all right, and then safety, we have Jesse. And me. And Kathleen.
Oh, I'm gonna miss those.
Distinguished Hall of Fame Committee. Jesse, is that the one you wanted to do?
Yeah, I'll do that.
Safety committee meetings. Captain goes to those meetings.
Donuts from.
Donuts from
Diageo.
That's like my favorite meeting.
Kathleen, do you want to do finance committee instead of me? Really? Okay. That's okay.
Anyone?
So who's on the?
It'd be well if
economic
there's donuts.
development one? Goldie?
Can Captain go?
Just her, I think there was only, I think that's a representative one, so. Jesse, did you want to be on the audit committee, finance committee?
What-
'Cause I have a lot of committees.
When do they meet?
It's new, so, right?
Well,
It's new.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay. I mean, if it's an early morning thing, that's,
First meeting, you'll set dates, so.
well then,
I mean, do your schedules align? Because that would be one that you're both on together.
I'm hit and miss. I can't, I'm unpredictable.
yeah, I mean, usually, it's easier for me to get to morning ones. I can change my schedule around as often as I can, but it's fluid at times with meetings for me at work. So, I mean, whatever, I mean, sure, I'll just throw me on there, we'll do it.
If you're busy, it's fine. I can do it. I don't
I just,
mind doing
as long
it.
as.
We
like,
wanna
after
sign
the ones
Andy?
are- After the ones are
Why don't we
tough.
just have Andy?
Andy do the finance and audit?
Yeah, well, he's on.
Okay.
Good, unless Jesse wants to.
All right, we'll put Andy
He's on
in.
fall festival and finance.
You can see.
And business advisory council. So that gives all of us about 3-ish, right? Is that good for everybody where we're at?
Yeah. Did you
Go
keep-
With-
I will
Yeah.
say,
Yeah.
One more time, and
Yeah.
business. Business advisors.
the advisory stays the same.
Daryl Roberts.
The student business advisory is.
That'll be part of
there is
wellness,
one, That's wellness.
or the student relief, yeah.
I will say the meetings, so whenever the safety meetings, Jim Smith has those meetings in the morning, they're nice and early, so 7:30. I struggle with the ones that we've had for some of the other committees like instruction or wellness, and not anyone's fault. It's just, those are sometimes during midday,
Yeah,
which is really hard.
Yep.
I
Start
will
that
say-
way of what's good for this
Yeah.
group, and then,
1:30 in the afternoon is very hard.
Yep.
For me to attend, so,
and that was us trying to get kids,
yeah.
students on it.
So, and I understand that, and I understand if it has to be that way, just pointing that out,
We're
but
on the
maybe that's
instruction and
something.
wellness, we're pretty flexible,
Mhm.
both of us.
Well, that's good then.
Yeah, so
Perfect.
we can do the midday,
Good.
you guys with kids.
Yeah, and in the day when we bring the whole group together, sure, but when we just meet just us, that can be early.
Okay. All right, so let's go back here. So I have first PAC, the PAC committee, and that is Foley and Leidick. Audit committee is Foley and Roberts. Business advisory council is Farrell and Roberts. Instruction committee is Seoli and Trevsker. Wellness is Seoli and Trevsker. Economic Development Council is Foley. Government Affairs is Foley and Trevsker. Safety is Leidick and Seoli. And Distinguished Hall of Fame is Leidick.
and then fall festival is up in the air.
Yeah,
Okay.
we'll leave that one.
Yeah, no, I
We have to
didn't
check
know
with-
where, yeah,
We have to check with, see if Mrs. Spinelli's interested, or if there's,
perfect.
Quick question about the distinguished alumni thing. So we had one meeting. I attended it earlier this year. And we were assigned, so there's a list of people that, I don't know what I can say, what I can't say, list of
Yeah, there's a
people
list
that-
of people on the ballot. that
And we were assigned to
additional
get more
research on.
information on certain people. So I was assigned a person to get more information from the family. how does this work? Because the next time they were scheduled to meet was like April or something, where
Yes,
you were gonna
we'll
vote
actually
on,
have our voting meeting in either April or May. So you could send that information to me and I'll pass it on to the group.
and so then, does that mean next time around then, there's a meeting, it would be Jesse?
Yes.
Okay,
So the Distinguished Alumni Hall of Fame Committee is a group of up to 20 representatives from the community that will consider people that have been nominated to be on the ballot.
Sure.
And then the spring meeting is a voting meeting. Sometimes there's a meeting in the fall, so organizational review of bylaws. But it's a group that's supposed to research people, bring people forward, look at other nominees that people from the community have brought forward, and then ultimately vote on who gets into the Distinguished Alumni Hall of Fame.
Is that a conflict of interest since you are an alumni? Because
no,
you could
no,
be, you could get nominated.
there's a bunch of alumni, there's a bunch of alumni.
Only the usually people that aren't alumni are people that work here.
I'm the only non-alumni.
The chairperson, so
Yeah, I don't have a lot to say.
No,
So that works
it's
then.
pretty good, it's a solid group, it's the meeting we had in the fall.
And you're
we have
streamlining the
meetings,
ballot.
yeah, in like 4 years that I've known.
What's that?
You're in the process of streamlining the ballot, because names fall off after a certain period of time, and you guys are going through that process now to
Because
try to.
didn't COVID mess things up, and then also didn't someone from the Alumni Association decide to not do it as frequently, so they have an induction every,
Yeah, so we had met annually to vote, and so in 20, we didn't have it, 21, we didn't have it. 22, the age of the committee is often was the most at risk for COVID, so we had sort of delayed it, and the different events had happened, and so we had reconvened in 23 with the hopes of going in 24. What it was is there was no induction ceremony in 23, so we had just delayed it
okay,
to this year.
Okay.
So then we participate with the Athletic Hall of Fame as far as our induction ceremony. There's also a committee that Dr. Thompson, myself, and TJ are on with other committee members that select that group. And then we've gone to an every other year induction ceremony, the athletic nomination, the nominees, along with the single shot night, it's one event in the fall.
so is there a policy or a bylaw somewhere that says a board member has to be on this, or has to be,
Just the local bylaws that
we wrote?
run
or
the
our district?
Distinguished Alumni Hall of Fame.
Oh,
Do we have a motion to approve the committee appointment?
Moved.
Second.
Roll call please.
Mrs. Foley,
yes,
Mr. Lighted,
Yes.
Mrs. Kretzer.
Yes.
Mrs. Pioli.
Yes. Do I have a motion to adjourn the organizational meeting? Roll call please.
Mr. Lighted,
Yes.
Mrs. Kretzer.
Yes.
Mrs. Pioli.
Yes.
Mrs. Pioli.
yes.
We need to take a break at all? We want to move right into the work session? Well, anyone needs to take a break. My mom said you can't. Okay, well,
Not impressive.
I suppose then the work session of Board of Education of Perryville Local Schools is called to order at 6:29 PM in Starbucks Center Conference Room. Roll call please.
Mrs. Pioli. Here. Mrs. Foley.
Here.
Mr. Lighted.
Here.
Mrs. Kretzer.
Yes, here. Superintendent report.
Yes, thank you. I do have a few items that need to be taken care of. Personnel acceptance of retirement. The board is asked to accept the retirement of the employee listed in the position indicated as recommended by the local superintendent. On B, personnel acceptance of a resignation, the board is asked to accept the resignation of the employee listed from the position indicated as recommended by the local superintendent and director of food service. C, personnel approval appointment athletic supplementals. The board is asked to approve the employment of the individual listed for the 23-24 athletic supplemental position and grade of pay indicated. Pending such completion of required employment paperwork, certification, training, and background check as recommended by the local superintendent and athletic director. D, personnel approval of volunteer. The board is asked to approve the individual listed as a volunteer for the 23-24 sport noted, pending successful completion of background check and certification as recommended by the local superintendent and athletic director. And E, personnel approval appointment of substitutes. The board is asked to approve the individual noted for the 23-24 daily substitute position listed as recommended by the local superintendent, assistant superintendent. F, approval of resolutions, ELCCC 2024. The board is asked to approve the resolutions noted recognizing the Eastern Lake County Chamber of Commerce 2024 Business of the Year Award and Beacon Award recipients as recommended by the local superintendent. And G, we have corrective action, May 2023 minutes. The board is asked to approve the correction of the resolution numbering of the May 2023 board meeting minutes as recommended by the local superintendent. We had 22 instead of 23s. This concludes my superintendent's report.
Wait, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Any discussion?
Okay, roll call please. Mrs. Foley,
Yes.
Mr. Leidig,
Yes.
Mrs. Metzger.
Yes.
Mrs. Seoli.
Yes. The chief financial officer's report, people?
We have A, donations. The board is asked to accept the following donations from the sources indicated for deposit into the account and or department listed as recommended by the chief financial officer. B, approval of expenditure, health and fitness. The board is asked to approve an expenditure in the amount of $27,700.06 for health and fitness for wrestling room underlayment replacement as recommended by the chief financial officer, athletic director, and the director of maintenance and operation. C, approval of expenditure Reslight. The board is asked to approve the expenditure in the amount of $69,118.16 to Reslight under the purchasing cooperative contract for the wrestling room wall padding replacement and new wrestling mats as recommended by the chief financial officer, athletic director, and director of maintenance and operations. Both of those items were in the 10-year plan that Mr. Smith presented a few months ago. And they won't be expenditures until next fiscal year in 2025. The acceptance of grant funds, AmeriCorps Mott. The board is asked to accept the grant funds and to approve the appropriations for such grants as recommended by the chief financial officer and building principal. E, acceptance of grant funds, Martha Holden Jennings. The board is asked to accept a Martha Holden Jennings Foundation grant in the amount of $5,885 and to approve the appropriations for such grant to be placed in Fund 019, Special Cost Center 964, as recommended by the local superintendent and chief financial officer. The grant was awarded to Anna Gassert and Leslie Monroe. F, acceptance of funds, Healthy Kids Fall Step Up Challenge winner. The board is asked to accept the Healthy Kids Fall Step Up Challenge Award in the amount of $1,000 and to approve the appropriations for such an award to be placed in Fund 019 Special Cost Center 9724 as recommended by the local superintendent and chief financial officer. Challenge was won by Shelby Hess, Jen Zach, Erica Sivak, Summer Brainerd, and Kayla Reckonen. And this concludes my chief financial officer's report.
Hey, do I have a motion?
Second.
Any discussion?
I do. First, I want to say thank you to those that make these nice donations. And then I have a question on letter A on the first donation. Let's take on the. So the one that's for $17,000, it says, boys and girls state, tennis, wrestling, softball, what, does that go to? How does that work? How does each sport, how do they divide up that into funds? Because I mean,
The embeds actually.
so it's a specific
Yeah,
amount,
puts in, gives us a specific.
so. Okay.
We
Where
do
will
that
that itemized stuff for that list be?
I can get that to you. Do you want me to put that, you want me to separate them out?
I think it would be a good idea, just, I mean, for reference in case it should come up there, you know, this past year, there was some questions that came up with funding and accounts and
Okay,
various things with sports. I think it would be good to have it broken out.
great. I will email all of you
Thank you.
this particular one and going forward, I'll make sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's, just 'cause that's a large amount.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a generous donation.
Yeah, very.
Yeah, so that's not part of boosters at all. It doesn't go into boosters into a lump sum for anyone to pull from. It's specifically, there's a specific amount for each of these sports listed.
Yes.
Okay.
And then the junior class, and then the boys, they always give us for the boys and girls state. As well.
Perfect, very nice.
Okay, and then I had on the wrestling mats, that was in Mr. Smith's. How old are those mats?
30 years, they're at end of life.
So they've gotten their wear. This is
Yeah.
a long-term investment that we expect to
Yeah.
expand that same kind of duration.
And, there's really only one company that actually makes these mats. There are two vendors, so we checked with both, with the operative pricing.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Mr. Leidig,
Yes.
Mrs. Metzger,
Yes.
Mrs. Pioli,
Yes.
Mrs. Foley.
Okay, work session items. Item 1. Our SRO agreement draft.
Yeah, that is something, you know, I've mentioned to, a few of you, we talked about, you know, a new chief in town, Chief Williams, and, when he came in and began his duties, they did a threat assessment. And at our first government affairs meeting a few months back, he said that based on that assessment, his recommendation was 3 SROs in our buildings. Historically, when we came, back, gosh, I don't know how many years ago, we had 1 SRO. And then we did expand that to 1 full-time SRO and 1 part-time SRO. And, they would rotate, one of the SROs, one of those positions to the part-time, so, you know, wouldn't be the benefits cost. SRO's funds came through to most, you know, groups, and they used those ESSER funds to, help, cover for that part-time to become full-time. So now we have 2 full-time SROs in the district. And so I met with, a member of the village council, and the chief and the mayor, about a month ago. And they're running into some of the same issues that we've faced in some of our areas, where different organizations are trying to lure or cherry pick, employees away, and offering them packages, to do that. And they've had that happen with one of our, you know, current SROs, where, he came to them, and while he wants to stay, this is an offer that has been given to him. And so in that discussion, we are in the final year coming up, not this year, the next year, of the current contract that we have with the SROs and in the village. And so they were asking us, is there anything we can do? Would we consider renegotiating that contract, which we can do now? We can provide an extension, because within that 18-month mark, to add some stability to those positions, because one of the pieces they're talking about is, hey, this was part-time, it's ESSER funds that they've used to fund this, they're going away. And is that gonna mean we're gonna be back to part-time on this position? And, you know, I said, you know, based on, you know, the information we're finding and what we've become accustomed to, I think it'd be very difficult for us to go back to less than 2 full-time SROs in the district. And so, yes, you know, that's something I think that the board would permit, and that we could go into some discussions with them about a contract extension. So, Mrs. Capo is doing some behind the scenes work with their new fiscal officer, and we're gonna look at what their current costs are for the SROs. We pay almost, we're about $100,000 that we pay them a year for 2 full-time SROs. Back when we were looking at this in the beginning and we were checking out other options, I recall that to have a sheriff from the county come, 1 sheriff was $75,000 a year, maybe 8 years ago, 9 years ago. So we've gotten great benefit for our cost. But again, we're there, you know, people, they're being leveraged, and they're worrying about losing at least one of them. So we're gonna go and look at their capacity to pay, kind of see that, you know, other districts are giving 9-month contracts. They've been on a 12-month contract, which means they help fill in for some of the, officers that work, in the, in the circuit or whatever. And then summer they patrol. And so they have 12-month contracts and they have every intention of keeping a 12-month contract. Well, if you do the math, 9 months and 3 months, we're about 75%, they're about 25%. And so we're gonna try to negotiate, that cost and kind of see what they're after. And so we'll be in that, in those discussions, and we would like, Jen and I would like to come to the next board meeting probably with a recommendation. For two. Where this, we were at the governmental affairs, I was at the governmental affairs meeting, and it was talked about there that while they would love to see 4 and have 3 full-time and a rover, and and the thing with safety and security of our kids, we're never gonna do enough. You can never do enough, but we also have to be realistic in what we can provide and what's customary. And so, we'll be working on that contract in a couple of weeks. We'll provide you an update in our board update, where we're headed. And so obviously you'll have some idea where it's going, before we ask you for the recommendation for an extension, to that contract, at the next board meeting. So. And if you have any thoughts or discussions, we'll be here.
When are you meeting?
We've already met. So her terms, poking around a little bit. We're trying to get some data and some information about what's their capacity, right?
Yeah, didn't you say you guys were going to meet again?
Yeah, we're gonna have discussions. Jen and I meet every day, so, but we, it's one part of the thing we talk about. But then once we kind of know where they are, and what their capacity is. And because, let's be realistic, I started with, would we even consider not having 2 SROs?
I think it's worthwhile at 2.
In
Absolutely.
this climate, I don't think you downgrade
Do it a minute.
the safety.
We had the part of what, and I started at the governmental affairs meeting, I said, there was a day when all the entities contributed to things that happened on our campus. Those days are gone. I don't see, and being realistic, I don't see them coming back. But it doesn't hurt just to continue to put it out there that we educate all Perry kids.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, we have a great relationship with our village safety forces. They contract with us for our SROs. It's been an outstanding experience. We've had, and so, especially the high school, we've had in the past, some concerns, but our current officers were very excited about. And, I think they've established strong relationships with the community and with the kids. And, I think we never know what we prevent, right? But, I think we do a lot to be able to be out in front of things, hopefully see the signs, and we, can hopefully always, hopefully recognize something and do something before it happens, right? But, that's where we're at, and it's a delicate topic. Because, I think we feel pretty safe in Perry. And I thought they probably felt pretty safe in Iowa, a week ago, and sadly enough, we're gonna continually be faced with, these public, kind of events that are awful. And so we need to talk about it, we need to look at it, and we need to, think about these things, and so that's what we're doing for the next few weeks.
So the extensions for 2, right?
I would probably think in a 3-year extension, so that would lock them in for 4 years.
But then 2 SROs.
And with the idea that 2 SROs would be a part of that agreement, and then the tricky part becomes the funding and what we would expect.
Are we exploring possibly 3, like 1 in each building? We looked at that.
Again, we have not explored it. It's pretty simple to see how it would look. I mean, right now we have them stationed in one primarily in the high school, one primarily in the middle school. They rover, they move. That's another piece. You don't want pattern behavior. You want
No,
different
right.
pattern
No,
behavior.
absolutely.
I think they're pretty visible out front in the morning and drop off. They're pretty visible out front at dismissal and those things. So while they're not assigned to any one building, I think the perception is they are.
Well, they're everywhere, yeah.
But they cover the elementary. You know, we were on the phone with one of them last night at 9 o'clock. About taking care of a potential scare. And so,
And when something does come up, we're not just with those two SROs, we have the support of the local police departments and sheriffs and everyone that we need.
right, Chief often, you'll see the chief of police often doing his rounds in the parking lot in the mornings, coming in. Mr. Collins, you see him continuously throughout the building, and
Right.
we are the hub of
We're
this community,
yeah.
right? So. things
And
are
everyone's
happening.
children are here, so.
And so it's very fluent with our safety forces.
Has there been a time where we've had a time where we said, oh my gosh, I wish we had one more? Or have we been pretty satisfied with the coverage that we're getting from the ones that we have?
There's been a time when we wished we had different setups and work, but currently in the last 5 years, I think we've been very satisfied with the coverage, and very satisfied with their work. It gets a little tricky on jurisdiction, and North Perry and the village have done a lot to end that problem. They can now coexist and work both areas. The township is still sheriff, right? And so when we have a visitation, we have, township pieces.
We're sharing anymore.
Yeah, well, right.
Right?
But when you go to like when you think about SROs, you think about worst case scenario and that's why they're there, but that's really for us, like, they do a lot beyond.
It's a relationship,
Preparing
like
for-
you said, the prevention of not just a major catastrophe, but the day-to-day interactions with our students, with our kids. And what you're saying about them in the summer too, if they're on the roads, or our kids are home in the summer.
It's wonderful.
So
It is.
we now have an extension of school support that is there in the summer, and to me, it's about retaining the people, the two for sure, that we already know that know our kids.
And they cover athletic extracurricular events too. And I remember this fall, we had like 5 officers, and they all parked their vehicles at the one end. And it was just it was awesome, man. They just all like parked right there, and because they were from all different areas, and so we have a great working relationship. I have no complaints.
And to your point, it's not that 8 to 3, 8 to 5 feel. I've talked to them after hours. I've talked to them in the summer about instances that came up. So it's not, they're not on the clock just for that small amount of time. They really are serving our kids year round.
And we worried about, again, I also thought, there has been leverage or solicitation of trying to pluck them. All right, and so, we experience it with our bus drivers, and it's a reality, that we're going through right now. I think, we learned at the governmental affairs meeting that the Coast Guard is downsizing significantly next year. The Ashtabula, what do you call it? The Ashtabula department is gonna be on no one. And the Fairport one's going from 36 to 11, and it's not a money issue. It's a staffing issue. They just don't have the people to cover it. And so, there was discussion, and that's gonna be interesting. Because the fire department here, they have a little boat, it's shoreline work, right? If there's 3-foot waves, when does the problem happen out there? Not when it's sunny and calm, right? When you're dealing with 6 to 8 footers, well, our fire department, they don't have the capacity, they can't go out there. And so, we don't know what that means. Now, hopefully, the tides have turned in the economy a little bit, things are changing, and maybe staffing will improve, but we have to look at this realistically and not ignore the fact that we have to keep our people, and they have to keep their people. And it's one of those conversations where, you kind of tap dance around what the number is, Cause you don't, you're trying, you're kind of holding your cards, and Mrs. Capel's really good at that. And so, and I'm not so good at that. I just want to get it out there, and I'm just kind of a spender. You guys all know that. And so, and I know that, and so we coach up on keeping my mouth shut and trying to work through it. And so just being honest. And, but we're working, and I just wanted to inform you guys, we're in the process. We're gonna come back to them once we have a little bit of an understanding of where it's at. But
And also, at the time, whenever you guys come back, that we kind of recap what the purpose and the role and responsibilities of an SRO is, because I think sometimes it gets muddied, and I think the perception is that they're a police officer, so they should just be able to do anything and everything. And that's really not their role, from my understanding, from conversations we had in the past, especially when it had to do with runs in the parking lot. Which we can save for,
another
not
time.
save, but it does come up a lot.
Yeah.
Again, that's the yellow stripes that nobody sees in the parking lot at the pickup zone that we tried to change this year. That's still a problem. And so I think the perception of people is that the SROs are supposed to ticket people that are there. And I'm not sure they're
They don't have
supposed to do
they
that. They don't have that authority.
to do that in this town.
I think that's important, that we define and explain the role of our SROs.
I think it's what is it, they have to write a disorderly conduct or something, or so if they want to ticket somebody for that, it would be a disorderly conduct, and they'd have to appear in court.
It's a whole new level.
It's a whole new.
That's gonna need to come up again, that's my point,
Yeah.
that does need to be addressed.
It's not.
The real value of an SRO is building the relationship
No,
and
the high
connections with
school.
the students to prevent issues.
Same,
Yeah.
same thing.
And-
People walk.
That's where the consistency with the people that we have is so
You
vital.
know, and again, is we can sit here and, but the research is clear, the data is clear. What our society's facing in the, a 66% increase in suicide attempts. I mean, it's crazy, what we're dealing with in our society right now, with people feeling despair and working in that area. And so, while, and the other piece, in the day we ever have one of those events that we prepare for, but we pray never happens. We want to be pretty confident that they're gonna rise up to that level. And I tell you what, I don't know Officer Zarevnik well yet, but initially but I know Officer O'Valley, and he'd be leading the charge. And we've seen events in other communities where that didn't happen. So, there's that, and then there's that prevention piece and the relationship building piece, and trying to help people that are in despair. I mean, it's, we have to, in the wellness committee, we have to look at this stuff. We have a changing population, and we have to address it at some level. So, I don't know, tough stuff.
And you don't ever foresee, the three entities joining up
We've
again.
had the one Perry conversations here.
Well, yeah, I
Mr.
mean,
Farrell
even-
comes back to haunt us. Yeah, I don't know. You guys talk about that. That's your community.
About like funds wise, so they,
Well, North Perry and Village have done some.
Yeah,
they've
they have.
consolidated
Shared
some
services, yeah.
Shared
all of that,
services,
yeah.
right?
We've been doing shared services then, with other districts for years. Those things get brought up, but, sharing your toys is something that is a lesson we can all look to, right? And it comes, it's funny because, Lou and I, last time we went down to Columbus, what did Senator Serino say to me? Do you remember?
He should, if we ever thought of joining with Madison or other school districts.
And I said,
Well, never.
that's like saying the Hatfield McCoys are getting married. But I'm just saying, it's like, that's what they think too. And then, that may, we say that now and we kind of joke like, oh, we are so far from that ever happening, because we feel like, while we're good neighbors, we're kind of different, right? I mean, the two school systems, but that's what they say, why aren't you guys consolidating with Madison? And, I'm like, what? So, and I think maybe that is what you guys get a little bit of when you talk with three entities, the township, the village, and North Perry Village. I don't know, but I get a sense. You know, the jokes that I hear, the banter, which is, you guys are all one community. I mean, we rose together this fall, I mean, we've been together, but yet there's certain things that you don't. Like talk your boat, or, you know, whatever. I don't know. I don't, you know. But
Moving on. Okay, so are we good with that? Everyone with that?
But you know, it is, and I look forward to our continued discussions, because we are moving these directions.
And this is always gonna be open discussion because things change and.
Right. But-
Okay. And then the second item, 2024 ELCC Awards Luncheon, is anyone available to go? What's the date?
January 25th, 11:30 to 1:30.
Who are the businesses?
They're on the agenda.
I didn't open my computer, I wonder if mentioned it.
The Beacon Award is Railroad Museum. And the other one is a realtor, global realtor, real estate.
It's not what it used to be. I'm not available that day, I'm out.
So when do you need to know by?
Mrs. Capo's willing to go with you. I think.
All right, Ms. Sealy, you want to
go.
Okay. So. explain it.
I don't write this up.
I'll make sure you know who
Should
they
you give out the award to?
Yeah, you have to just present an award there.
read the resolution. 5-page.
So we used to send Colleen Moskowitz to that to do the video.
Yeah.
Who's doing that now?
You
You doing?
so there's 2 kids doing the video, 2 students.
Okay, so that.
The video.
that day.
And yeah, we were in contact today, so, they're going out there next week and getting the video footage and video will be ready for the 25th. But I know there's something else
They're
going on
hired,
that night.
they're hired to do that, right?
Correct.
That's a job.
That's a job.
Correct.
Okay, good.
Correct.
It's usually about 40 degrees inside there and 10 walking in. It's FYI. It's on.
Yeah, normally those students would
It's
attend,
freezing,
but
it's
I
freezing.
believe there's also, first grade and second grade concerts that were live streamed, that's.
Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate you guys doing that.
Anything else? Curriculum, standing items. Curriculum and instruction.
Welding lab,
Okay.
you wanna put this out?
I think each has one. You're the first to see it. If you see any glitches, there's 24 hours to respond. No. It's two-sided and, looking from our numbers now to filling in welding 1 next year and intro to fab as we always have, and then offering potentially welding 2 by second semester, phasing in that way. Instructor is tentatively held by Lake Erie College and, there used to be a Perry resident, but I believe his contract won't be signed with Lake Erie College. It's Mr. Billy Miller. Bill. Miller. Not the wrestler, Billy. That contract will be signed around spring of this year through Lake Erie College. So, and what you were able to support us with, in addition to the IWIP grant, we will be ribbon cutting soon. Summer. Not soon, but summer.
There's a chance that the house flip project may be transitioning this spring, or
Yeah, Mr. Zuzi thinks there's a chance everything could be wrapped up by the summer,
Wow.
ready for sale, so,
Wow.
yeah, he wants to start the discussion about next steps.
The rate's been down.
How long has it been? It feels like that was really fast.
Probably took possession last January.
Okay.
cash sale now.
So in this, for the welding stuff, for the students, they have to meet the, I'm seeing the college credit plus requirements.
Yeah, so they can and cannot, I believe they'll fill first, knowing it's Lake Erie College with those students first.
Okay,
But they have made, in our MOU, as did Lakeland Community College right now with our welders, that if they don't fill entirely, they would take non-CCP students as well. What that just simply means is that they would get the experience and not the college credit.
Which would make sense for a welding course, because not typically kids that are going down a college path, is it? Or do you get both?
No, it's just we're seeing more and more of the trades coming through
Right.
CCP now, which is excellent. But our foundations course, Jesse, that intro to design we still have full plans that that's Mr. Zusi's current course.
Okay,
And the students will come from Mr. Zusi on that course. And then, the instructor I mentioned for welding 1, 2, and 3.
okay, yeah. I
We do
think-
have the capabilities of, with a welding type of program, they have different level of standards than if you're going to take a science class at Lake Erie College. So Lakeland and Lake Erie have both have had a little bit of flexibility in that.
GPA comes down to 2.0 instead of a 2.5 for this particular one.
I think that was my only concern.
Yeah, I'm
You
with
brought
you
back.
on that.
Yeah, I just, you know, I don't want to prevent someone who has no interest in going to college from getting this experience. I think that's extremely important for our students.
Yes, I think there's a line in here. I can't find it right away, but it's to the fact, I think it's on this other side where the mailer's going out. Whether you're pursuing, a degree of experience or a certification. So we see it exactly that way too. You just may be looking for the experience, maybe looking for a certification, or you may be pursuing a degree. And I don't see that many students pursuing the degree, but I don't know that yet. But, so to answer your question is no, not all of them are pursuing degrees. There's kind of 3 levels of interest to come to this class.
I just don't want a student to look at that and see the CCP and kind of freak out over it a little bit.
Or just be like, I'm not doing CCP,
Right,
I'm out.
I don't
Yeah.
want them to get deterred from,
Yeah.
you know, that was the whole purpose, I think, of this, is to give this opportunity to all of our students and not have any of them feel intimidated or deterred because they see CCP and like, well, I'm out,
Yeah.
and then maybe missing out on something that they truly would enjoy.
So we phrased it there that these courses are available for CCP credit, really with the intention being that if you want them, they're available for CCP credit.
Right,
Where it might become a delicate conversation is that who's funding this instructor, who's funding these materials, who's funding the outfits they wear is not us. It's the partnership with Lake Erie College. So we see that tension or it looks very good right now. And it looks like Perry students want to fill the course, but we'll keep you updated.
But this is typically like
Registration begins
coming
next
through the
month.
counselors. The counselors know the kids and they know which kids, and they can say like, this is for, you know, something, if you don't worry about the college part of it.
Yeah.
Like this is, that's the biggest thing, is making sure that those kids know that.
So we have industry standard techniques mentioned. What if there was something with working towards industry credentials?
Yes, and we just today took off the points because we thought the typical Perry resident wouldn't care or know what might draw more questions, but each of these up until today were attached with exactly how many points, so you could see how you could get 12 and get the credential.
I feel like somebody interested in going into that as an industry credential would know, and it would mean something to them if they've done any sort of investigation. And that would kind of override their feeling that I have to be going for CCP.
True, and do you think we should have points back on here?
I don't know if the points need to be on, but just something mentioning if you want to work towards industry credentialing,
Yes, and
or
next-
if you are a CCP, so that both are an option.
Like,
Ah.
industry credential would seem to be like the more of the draw for
right,
these
yeah,
kids.
Right,
absolutely.
right.
Yep.
we'll edit that sentence at the bottom,
Okay.
make it even clearer.
Yeah, I just saw
Thank
the
you.
one part that just said interested students may need to meet CCP requirements. And I didn't, you know, I saw that in there, so I was like, okay, well, I know may is in there,
You
but
know what, we'll rephrase it, thank you, that's, students interested in CCP will need to meet those requirements, that might change that. And then the student not interested.
Can work.
it can work for the certification.
Yeah.
Which that'd be great.
Instructionally, we had a PD day last, it seems like forever ago, which was awesome. A lot of good conversation, the planning for 24-25 is well underway. That first week of PD in August, there's some talk about making the effort to reconnect with the community and get a better understanding from our supervised staff of the Perry community. You know, whether that's, you know, some bus ride tours, some home visit kind of stuff, doing some things that would help us get connected and understand the Perry community a little better. And because we have those multiple days where we'll be doing things. So the planning's begun there. I think convocation is August 14th. We're gonna probably do an afternoon recognition and convocation. And we're also trying to align our times a little bit. And then Mr. Gallant is heading up the potential bus route adjustments that we'll be making. And so all the 24, 25 stuff is being handled while we run the end of 23, 24. So fun times for us as we look ahead and all the programming changes and things. I know Mr. Stavar's we've had some deep conversations, and so know that it's going on out there.
Board governance. Safety and security.
Parking lot,
Yes, the parking lot is big.
stripes, pick up, drop off, whatever we need to do to get the message loud and clear. And I don't know if anybody. I don't know, I know we sent an email out this in August. I don't know if that just went to the key community group or if it went to all families about the new pickup area for student athletes.
That was the campus blast.
Infinite campus.
Yeah.
I think it needs to go out again.
Yes,
And maybe it needs to have a picture of the yellow stripes attached that says, do not park there and stay there.
well, ours says don't even go there.
Right, don't pick up there. But it is a concern, and I have had community members reach out to me particularly, specifically about this issue, because when you go through that high school, by the path area, when you're gonna pull in, and if there's no spaces and you have to go all the way around that loop to come back out, you can't, because people are parked there. So that's a safety concern for an emergency vehicle to get in. There's also kids going back and forth across the parking lot. There's cars backing out, and then there's cars pulling out. So there's multiple things happening at once. There's also people that have temporarily backed into a handicap spot from time to time. And I do know a couple people who went in and could not get a handicap spot that have a valid sticker to use and couldn't use one because someone was just sitting in their car waiting for the handicap spot. So I don't know what needs to happen to make sure, and this probably isn't happening at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I think the majority of it is either 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock pickup times, and then 5 o'clock when the pack opens. Are the times when it's the most congested. Or if someone is parked in a space along there in front of the high school, they can't get out sometimes because the cars are blocking them in.
Yeah.
So whatever we need to do to correct that problem needs to be addressed.
And it needs to happen soon because it actually like typically gets worse around the time of the middle school play. When they're doing their final rehearsals at the high school, then you have a ton of middle school parents that are coming to pick up their kids. You've got high school kids who are coming out, high school kids who are driving around the loop with middle school kids walking across. It does really become a safety thing. And we said, the message we sent out was to please not pick up your children around the flagpole to go around the buses. And once the buses are gone, that bus is a perfect spot. You can get around people. It's safer. You can see the kids there's a whole sidewalk there. So I think that message really needs to get out. I think we need to even look at using that back parking lot, because some of that back parking lot around the corner beyond the softball field, that's another good spot to pick kids up where you're not having any traffic. You're specifically there to go around the loop, pick people up, but that flagpole, it just can't be used for drop offs. Yeah, like drop off's not a big deal because you're dropping your kid off,
Right.
but picking up, it's not practical.
You're talking about after school pickups too, right? Like school lets out. Yeah,
Once
that's
school lets
not
out,
fair.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
not, I mean, there's gotta be a plan.
After school's out, it's not during the
I
school
have-
day.
I've been in that nightmare, like I think
Mhm.
many of us have, for after school and for practice. I've got some great photos because I've been so irritated, I'll just say it now, of people who don't have
There you go,
handicap
Alan.
stickers backing into spots because, I know people who go there and pick up on my behalf too, have the handicap sticker, and they need a spot. But people are just parking them, and then we have people actually parking and blocking the fire hydrant.
Mhm.
I won't say any names, believe me, I won't, but, I mean, there are people who should know better within our district that do that themselves.
Well, and there's people that park in those corners,
They park in the corners,
which
can't turn
doesn't,
around.
yeah, I mean, you can get around them if they're parked in the corner, but it still shouldn't be happening.
Yeah, no, I mean, and these kids, you're right, with the kids walking back and forth, you can't see anything, it's
Yeah,
so hard to
just
pull out
one
of there
time with a
anyway.
kid that comes out.
Yeah,
So if it needs to be, a gate that comes down. And you can only enter that area if you have a handicap or a swiper, we somehow issue the swipers, I don't know. I'm just trying to come up with some sort of solution. I'm
It's just-
being serious because
It's gotta
that,
get bad.
that area shouldn't probably even be regular parking spaces.
right.
that should be strictly handicapped, in my opinion. I mean, if
It
you're
should
going to the
probably
steps
be
to work out, you're going, you can walk from the
But
parking
Silver
lot.
Sneakers people, I mean,
Yeah.
do have handicap stickers,
Yeah.
and some of them just wanna walk in peacefully and use the pool or use whatever and can't.
Yeah.
It is a problem.
And
I
we
don't know.
still, sorry, go.
No, you're fine.
And we still won't, open up that back, way to get into the school
No,
from
we can't.
Little Ridge.
That was the agreement with the neighbor, right? That gate.
Like, how solid is that agreement? I
Um,
mean, everything,
Do you want traffic in your yard?
everything we negotiated, because let's face it, even if that was open, they're gonna have the least amount of traffic than anyone else in the entire 3 Perrys on their street at one time. I mean, everyone who lives in Perry, or everyone who just lives anywhere, has cars going by their house. They'll have less cars going by the house, even if that's open, but it'll stop congestion. Like, from people just, especially if your people are gonna start picking up in the back, you're gonna have people coming by the ball fields, you know, during baseball and track.
Well,
all
yeah,
that
during
stuff.
baseball, we lock that down.
Right.
During, like, we have to close those gates because there's too many kids
Yeah.
walking across,
It
so
was a
obviously
delivery
that's a
drop-off.
winter time thing, like, it's basketball season, you're picking kids up from
Sure.
basketball at the pack. But it can't happen in the spring because
Right,
there's too
there's
many
too many
kids over there.
But just exiting and entering that way would be fantastic.
In the winter, we take speed bumps away, and people fly through here
Mhm.
in that area.
And we have to take the speed bumps away from the snow plowing.
Yeah, right.
It's really bad right here by the board office. I
Yeah.
think.
Oh,
The
yeah.
preschool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so let us know what your plan is.
Is that a? is that a safety?
It's kind of a, it's more than a recommendation.
It definitely can be a safety committee thing.
It has been,
It
it has
Yeah.
been. I've brought it up
Yeah.
at safety
When-
committee,
I mean-
and it was addressed at the time.
Yeah,
Right.
That's why the stripes got
I
painted.
remember when we discussed this.
That's
Yes.
why they got painted. Then they got
And
parked
they're
on,
painted
then an
so
email got
far
sent
out,
out.
they're not reasonable.
Yeah.
They're painted like,
they're so far out.
cause I come through there 3 times a day, it seems like picking up my own kids, right?
Mhm.
They're so far out that people parking there, I'm sorry, I can pull through the bus loop.
That's the picture.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
What's it gonna say?
See the,
Todd is.
When I drive my wife's car, it comes through the little.
He is not guilty, I haven't photos.
Well,
But
yeah,
like,
I
it just
know.
has to be reconsideration of even the way the stripes are painted this summer, like.
Yeah,
'cause
maybe no
they're
one's
so far
thought
out,
of
you'd be like, you could park where the stripes are and you don't cause an issue, so if you pull through and park. You could be in that stripe area and not, and people could still get through the loop. So
Well-
So
it's
we made
it's
all
so
those-
far out, it's
But
like, why even,
that doesn't
it's so
solve.
unreasonable that people just don't follow it.
If we made those parking spots handicap only, they'd be used less often and it would, and we could push that
Well, the
spot,
police wouldn't have to park on the sidewalk.
right?
Well, they have their spot, they just don't.
They have a
use it.
spot, they should sit in their spot.
Yeah, they don't use it.
They have
But
our student of the week and our, and whatever the other one
the
is.
raffle winner,
Raffle
I don't
winner.
think that's been happening since I've lived here.
Let's do it, especially if we make
I
them
don't
all
know, we have
handicap
a-
and
I
have
mean,
one rack.
here's what I'm gonna say, we had a really supportive, group of people from our community that were alumni at our state championship football game. And if they want to come and park in a handicap spot to come and watch an event or attend their grandchild or son or daughter's or someone's event here, it's a shame that there's no parking spaces because
Yes.
of how it's being utilized.
Yeah, 100%.
It needs to be corrected. I don't know what the solution is. I'm just saying, I think it needs some attention and maybe some conversations, whether it's with police officers, because they know too. They've seen it and witnessed it. I don't know, get some feedback from them. See what they think.
Yeah,
Technology?
and nobody gets in there and it's solved unless you got your handicap swipe.
Did you say technology?
Yeah, technology.
Send an email about the parking.
Handicap first?
No, I'm kidding.
All right.
I'm just kidding. You already said it.
I know we did have a request for public participation, however, because this is a work session and it's not for the purpose of conducting school districts. Is not to be considered a public community meeting. We don't have spots for public participation in this meeting, however, we do care. So if you'd like to speak to us after the meeting or send an email, we'd be happy to discuss your concerns. Just consistency and practice, so. That said, is there a motion to adjourn? Oh, pursuant to Ohio Revised Code, section 121.22 G1, I hereby move that the board adjourn to executive session for the purpose of considering the employment of a public employee or official.
So moved.
You just have to second.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Conducting no business act.
There will be no business conducted after the meeting. Roll call, please.
Mr. Spencer,
Yes.
Mrs. Gillick.
Yes.
Mrs. Foley,
Yes.
Mr. Lighted.
Yes.
What time was it?
Oh, that was at 7:15.